Hi, thank you for joining us here on the Morson Group Contractor Workshop. What we want to do is allow you to understand what your options are going to be on the back of you receiving your status determination statements from your client. As part of the video today, we're going to do a quick introduction in terms of who Champion are. Look at your payment options as they stand on the back of the determination statement that you will receive, and then specifically look at the options with regards to agency pay-as-you-earn versus umbrella company. Look at what an umbrella company is and what an umbrella company isn't, and then provide you with an overview of what we can offer. Joining me today is my colleague Ian from Champion Financial Planning, and he is going to take you through some of the details regarding the salary sacrifice option that we offer to our employees, and hopefully that will be something that resonates. Okay, so by way of an introduction, Champion Contractors are part of a larger group that's been around for about 50 years now, and we are slightly different to lots of payroll companies out there that essentially evolved from payroll into doing accountancy. We were the other way around, and we have got this long established history which we used when we set up the division back in 2009, and the division was set up specifically to look after contractors in the knowledge that there are lots of legislative changes that affect contractors, and specifically one being IR35. So as part of our accountancy service, we offer an independent assessment process that's carried out by a legal firm on our behalf, and that establishes the IR35 status for our contractors. Now, that particular process was used for some of the Morson Group clients back in 2017 when these changes came in. And again, on the back of that, we formed a strategic partnership with Morson to raise awareness of IR35 and the changes coming in the public sector. And again, as part of that process, we were asked to be the featured partner for their umbrella services. So that's why we're here, and that's why we're talking to you today. From a perspective of your payment options, then ultimately, it depends on what the SDS says. Okay, now if you get an SDS that stipulates that you are outside of IR35, then the legislation doesn't apply. Okay, and that will mean that you can continue to operate via your limited company. You'll probably get some kind of new contract to reflect that, but ultimately that will mean that you'll retain control of your income and your tax planning. Okay. If you are deemed to be inside of IR35, then obviously the legislation will apply. What that will mean is that you'll have three options. One would be to opt to get paid pay-as-you-earn via Morson. The other one would be to opt to get paid pay-as-you-earn via an umbrella company like Champion Contract Services. And the third way is to receive a deemed payment through your own limited company. Now, as part of today's video, we're not going to go into a huge amount of detail about the limited company deemed payment option, but it is important to understand that if you go down that route, you need to consider whether it's going to be cost effective. So the deemed payment to your limited company essentially means that Morson will have to take care of the income tax and national insurance deductions as expected, but they will also have to take care of the employer costs, so employers' national insurance and apprenticeship levy. Now, what would normally happen with your limited company is any payments made to that, you could offset any costs against. Okay, but that deemed payment has had all the deductions already taken, so there's nothing to reduce your tax liability. So ultimately, that payment that goes into your limited company, you would take out. Any costs, any overheads for insurances or accountancy or mobile phones, anything like that there's nothing for them to be offset against. So they're coming straight out of your pocket, basically out of your bottom line. Okay, so that is, as I said, an option. And if you did want to speak to that, you can contact one of the Champion team, and we can go into a bit more detail about that. So, as mentioned, the video is primarily looking at the differences between agency pay-as-you-earn and umbrella company. Now, what we see here are the three kind of starter blocks that we think you should use when kind of making an informed decision. So the first thing would be employment status. How's that going to affect you in that respect? Now, from a perspective of working via the agency and Morson, then you would just be seen as a deemed employee for tax purposes. Okay, and you would be issued with what's known as a temporary work agreement. Now, on that basis, and compared to umbrella, then that may put you at a disadvantage when it comes to things like mortgages or loans or things like that. Okay, so with the umbrella company, you will get full employment, you get contract of employment, and that will facilitate the fact that you can do a series of assignments as well. So longer term employment, if you're going for a loan or mortgage in the next couple of years, or you're planning on doing that, you probably need to take that into consideration. Okay, now from an administration perspective, then not much more with either option than what you're doing now, essentially. You'll have the administration with your limited company that you'll no longer have, obviously with both options. But from a perspective of things like timesheets, then you just need to do what you're doing now. Okay, and ultimately you will get paid. You'll know that in your limited company, you will receive a remittance on a Wednesday afternoon from Morson. If you are getting paid by them pay as you earn, then you'll receive a payslip. Okay, if you opt to work via an umbrella company such as Champion, then the remittance would be sent to Champion, and then we would provide you with your payslip, and all of that process is managed by an online portal. Okay, where you would, if you've got any expenses or anything like that, you would process those via the online portal for us to then put through on that weekly payment for you. Now, when it comes to payments, then both options are subject to pay as you earn. Okay, the option in the main with Morson is that you get paid weekly. Okay, you would get the same option with ourselves, with Champion or an umbrella company. We also have the option to pay you monthly as well. Okay, so again, we appreciate that not all limited company contractors take their money out of the company on a week-by-week basis. So it may be more easier just to have that one payment per month. That's particularly relevant if you are wanting to use the salary sacrifice pension scheme, which we're going to talk a little bit later in the video. But ultimately, that specific area, that isn't an option if you were just working via the agency as well. So important to understand, and as I said, that's the kind of the things that you should start thinking about. How will either way affect what I want to do going forward, basically. Now, from a perspective of what an umbrella company is, then I think it's important to understand, and what you're seeing here are is HMRC's interpretation of an umbrella company. Okay, now I think it's pretty close to it. I think they've got a really good understanding. They're understanding the relationships that are involved. They're understanding the deductions that an umbrella company has to make, being the employer, and ultimately they understand that they are going to get their income tax and national insurance. Now, there's a link at the bottom of the screen there. That link will be in the comments box, okay? So you can click on that. What you can do there is go to HMRC's page, and you can just get a bit of a further understanding of what they're talking about, and hopefully that will help in your decision-making process as well. From a perspective of the contractual relationship, then what we're presenting to you here is how the contracts work. Okay, so in this example, if you opted to use the umbrella company, you are the worker and you get a contract of employment, as I said before. The umbrella company then has a contract for services with, in this case, Morson, and then Morson has a contract with the end hirer. Now, there's no direct contract between the umbrella company and the end hirer, or the end hirer and yourself in that circumstance. And indeed, the agency and the end hirer, they're interchangeable. And what I mean by that is this is an overarching contract relationship, which means that you can continue to be employed by the umbrella company, but work for several agencies or clients. So you've got this continuous employment, you've got joined up pay, and obviously that means that at the end of the year, things are easier with regards to your tax returns. Now, if you don't have any other income outside of the umbrella company, then you won't need to do a tax return, okay? So that again is a factor to take into consideration when you're making a decision. From a perspective of you being an employee, then that is important to note, because if there are any grievances, complaints, or you just need HR advice, then that's who you come to. You don't go to Morson, you come to ourselves. If that needs to be escalated up the supply chain, then we'll do that on your behalf, basically. And we do take those responsibilities very, very seriously as well. Okay, now, no doubt if you are looking at using umbrella companies, that you will be or may already have received some quotes, or you are going to be ringing around and asking for quotes. It's very important to understand the slight differences in an umbrella payslip, okay? And what I would encourage is that you get a full payslip, okay, so you can see all of the deductions that have been taken, both from what the umbrella company is paid from the agency and then what deductions you're going to get from your actual wage. Okay, the only way to see that in my eyes is to get a payslip example, and ultimately you'll probably see two sections there. There'll be an invoice section like we're seeing here. We detail that as an income statement. That shows you the amount coming in from the agency. Okay, and bear in mind the agreement is between the umbrella company and the agency. As your employer, then the umbrella company has to then take the relevant deductions. Okay, so there's an employer's national insurance contribution. There's also apprenticeship levy that's taken, and there'll also be a margin as well, basically. Now, in that respect, that will then arrive at your payslip, and again, that's what you see in here. Okay, so ultimately, with the majority of umbrella companies, you will see an element of basic pay. Okay, which is what we're seeing here, the 37,872. Now, that 872 goes up to 891 from the 1st of April. Okay, but ultimately, we have that in there because we have to demonstrate that we are paying you at least the minimum wage. And that also comes into effect with regards to the pension and salary sacrifice, because we can't go below the holiday pay and the minimum wage. Okay, they are statutory payments that need to be made to you. So ultimately, you can use a salary sacrifice, but it'd be between the bottom line there and up to the allowances for the year, basically. Now, you'll see on our payslip here, there's an additional taxable amount. That's the bit left over. Now, some umbrella companies will label that as a discretionary bonus or commission. Again, that's their right to do that. If you are thinking about mortgages or loans or things like that, then that again could potentially have an adverse effect because they don't take loans, commission or bonuses into consideration in those circumstances. Okay, so if you're seeing that on your example that you were sent, then ultimately just query that as to why that is. There was an issue last year with the coronavirus job retention scheme in the fact that furlough payments were only based on your actual salary, not commission or bonuses. Okay, so some umbrella companies had an issue and were only able to pay 80% of the national minimum wage. Now, I'm hoping that that's not going to be the case and people aren't going to need to rely on that going forward, but it is a consideration, as I said, for things like loans and mortgages. Okay. Overall, it's important that you can understand how that payslip is worked. Don't just accept a top line figure and a bottom line figure, because it is quite common for some umbrella companies to use smoke and mirrors in terms of building their margin up. Okay, and hiding things that you perhaps don't want or you've not signed up to, but it's added to their margin, basically. We'll talk a little bit of that as we're going through the video as well. So that's the kind of example that you want to get. There will be a link in the comments box to some salary calculators that you can use, okay, and ultimately you'll be able to generate this kind of statement for yourself. But if you do want a more bespoke one, then obviously you need to contact the champion advisors, okay. From a perspective of what is not an umbrella company, then again, it's really important that you're aware of what is out there. Okay, now we are aware of a number of umbrella companies that are operating at the moment. I say umbrella companies because that's how they show themselves on their website or on the introductions, but ultimately when you get to speaking to them, that's not what they're doing. In many cases, they are offering 80 to 90% of your income. Again, the remainder goes into their pocket. So I've seen some companies that are taking £200 off contractors and paying the rest of them in the form of a loan, and ultimately putting that individual at risk, because the promoter of the scheme isn't usually targeted. It's the people using the scheme, and ultimately it is tax avoidance, and HMRC will ensure that you pay back any tax or national insurance you've avoided plus penalties. Okay, so if you are speaking to or have been contacted by any organisation that is approved by HMRC, or they're saying that they'll pay you a national minimum wage like I showed you before, but the rest is in the form of a loan or an employee's advance, then please don't take them up on the offer. Okay, I know it's appealing, but generally it's the old adage, if it sounds too good to be true, it generally is. Okay, some of these agreements, they're not even based in UK law. They're in the Bahamas or some cases Malta. Okay, so look out for that. As I said, there'll be a couple of links in the comments box again with regards to HMRC's awareness campaign of this. Okay, and the link at the bottom again will be in the comments. That essentially is an extension of the points that you've seen at the top there. There's a bit more meat on the bones, and I would advise anyone, if you've spoken to a company that has said anything like what I've mentioned here, please have a look at that. you'll only be putting yourself at risk. And unfortunately, people that use these schemes run up hundreds of thousands of pounds worth of debt, okay, and people have taken their own lives in that respect. So please do your homework, and if it sounds too good to be true, please just walk away. Okay, so those are the things that or the companies that you should be aware of, basically. Morson themselves have a PSL, which only includes FCSA accredited providers. Again, there'll be a link to the FCSA website in the comments. But ultimately, what that means is that we are audited on an annual basis, and ultimately, they check those payslips, they check the contracts, they check the paperwork, the processes, how we interact with our employees to make sure it's all above board. Okay, if you don't do that, then ultimately you are taken off that list. And bear in mind, there's about 350 plus umbrella companies in the UK. There's probably only about 65 to 70 now that are actually accredited. And that's a step that we and those other companies have taken to ensure that we are securing and supporting the supply chain, including contractors, agencies and clients, basically. But have a look at the FCSA website if you need any more details on that. Okay. Now, what we also wanted to do as part of this video is show you what we can offer. And again, on that basis, it's still looking at the similarities to what you get with the agency and then building up from there. So what you're seeing here in front of you, these are the basics. Okay, this is what you should expect from any umbrella company. Okay, we've talked about the full contract of employment. Okay, you don't get that with the agency. Okay, you get statutory payments though with both, and you will get access to a workplace pension. So that's the workplace auto enrolment scheme. Okay, from a perspective of holiday pay, then it would be paid or retained with either option. Okay, but you wouldn't get continuous employment with an umbrella. You'd be stopping and starting on each assignment, and then again, the insurance is covered for press and indemnity, public liability, employer's liability when you're in the umbrella company, as well as with the agency as well. So there's a lot of things there that the basic umbrella company will cover you, but you're getting that with the agency. So it's about now establishing why you should start thinking about an umbrella company, what resonates with you, what's going to make your decision to go down that route. Okay, so what we have here, these are the extras. Okay, these are what we believe kind of start to set an umbrella company and specifically champion apart from just getting paid agency pay. Okay, and what we have is a set of rewards that as soon as you are paid, you would then be entered to get access to these rewards. It's all managed through a portal, and ultimately gives you access to save and get cash back on things that you're already buying anyway. So your weekly shop, okay, you can get cash back on things like coffees, 2-for-1s at restaurants, etc. And again, cash back on retail. So the places that are currently open, you know, you're going to buy those things anyway. Why not get that cash back? Now that cash back is stored in the portal. You can remove that income from there and pay, or you can pay for things via the portal, basically at discounted prices. Okay, so it's a way of us offering you further savings. Okay, in some circumstances, I have seen that you can be charged by other umbrella companies for that. So a typical umbrella charge would be anywhere from kind of £20 to £25 per week. Our usual fee is 22, so right in the middle there. And you then are charged an extra £2.50 or £3 for these kind of reward schemes. They're included with ourselves. Okay, one of the things that that really kind of resonates with our employees is the fuel reward scheme. Now, I must say that there is an upfront administration charged by the provider for this, but ultimately, once you have that card, that allows you to get discounted fuel at BP filling stations each week. So you receive an email at the beginning of the week which will confirm the how much you'll pay for fuel, and ultimately that's what you'll pay when you go to the forecourt, regardless of what it says on the forecourt. You use that card to actually pay for the fuel, and then a direct debit is taken from you there, basically. So it's a way of us offering, so again, some savings to our employees. And again, there will be a link in the comments box to the saving calculator, which I'm showing you here. So you can have a play around with this and you can see how much you can get back by using that reward scheme, basically. So have a little look in the comments box for the savings calculator, click there, scroll down to the bottom of the screen, and you'll see what you can do there. Okay. Now, this next part, this is the even better. This is what we think sets us apart from other umbrella companies. Okay, and there's a few things in here, again, where other umbrella companies will charge you extra for. So they may do this, but they'll charge you extra for it. So one of them is the personal accident scheme, the coverage that we provide. That's inclusive with ourselves. Okay. Again, I've seen with other umbrella companies that you can get charged another £3, let's say. So you've gone from paying £25, you got the rewards, and you've got the personal accident. You're now up at kind of at £31 already. Another thing that you will see with regards to the salary sacrifice pension is that some umbrella companies will allow you to do that, but it will probably mean that you have to use their specific scheme, and they'll probably charge you an additional amount of £5 or £6 per week. Okay. Now, there's no charge for ourselves. We're going to give you an upfront free independent financial advice to talk about that, which Ian's going to go to in a second. But in some umbrella companies, you could be paying upwards of £34, £35, even £36. And what we have put together for Morson Group contractors is an exclusive margin. Now, I said before, our usual fee is £22. For Morson Group contractors, that's going to be £18 per week. You see here that we are showing an after-tax relief. Okay, some umbrella companies will market and say that their fee is lower than what it actually is, because ultimately the £18 is going to come off the top line before any deductions are calculated. So the savings that you make are represented in the actual cost. Okay, but always ask the umbrella provider to confirm to you what the actual fee is, what the margin will be on your payslip. As I said before, you have the option of getting paid monthly. That is £72. Again, it's 4 times 18, but if it is a 5-week month, then you would obviously make a save in there. If you opt to get paid monthly, then you will be paid on the last working Friday of each month, basically. And again, that's an option. We will ask that when we're signing you up at the front end. Okay. We do recognise as well that this is going to be a period of change for everyone, and as part of our support to Morson and to our contractors and to any new contractors, we are going to offer April as free, basically. So you'll get to try before you buy with the service, and ultimately only start to be billed or will take our margin, I should say, from May onwards, basically. So that's the offer that we have. That's the exclusive package. As I said, I would use that if you are talking to other umbrella companies. Use the advice, please. Use the package that we're offering as a comparison. I'm sure you'll find it's extremely competitive. But again, if there's any further questions that you need from us, then you can contact us and we can give you that detail. I'm going to now hand you over to my colleague Ian. Okay, and he's going to talk to you just in a bit of detail about pension salary sacrifice, and because again, that is something that does resonate with a lot of contractors and maybe something that you are considering as well. So Ian, if I can pass over to you.
Thanks, Chris. Yeah, as Chris says, I'm Ian. I'm one of the independent financial advisors at your disposal via Champion. So what is salary sacrifice and why should you consider it? Essentially, is the most tax efficient way that you're going to be able to save towards your retirement planning. I've worked in the contracting arena myself, so I am aware of some of the issues that you're currently facing. Basically, how it works is you choose how much of your salary that you want to redirect to your pension rather than taking it as income. Now, the effect of that is threefold advantage. So you save on tax, you save on national insurance, but the big saving from a contracting point of view is the employer costs, because it comes off your top line prior to being taxed, etc. You're in control of how much you actually sacrifice, up to HMRC limits of £40,000 per year. However, in certain circumstances, we may be able to utilise something called carry forward, and that'll actually allow you to use up to 3 years previous allowances if you've not already used them. Another massive advantage for higher earners is essentially you get the tax relief straight away at your highest marginal rate. So unlike personal pension contributions, where you get basic rate tax relief and then claim back the further amount when you do your tax return, with salary sacrifice, you get the full amount straight away. How does it work for yourself? As I said already, Champion have provided access to myself or one of my colleagues. Best thing to do is actually get in touch. We can have a chat. We can establish whether salary sacrifice is right for you. or whether an alternative is more appropriate. In addition to that, we can also help with any other financial matters that you might have. You know, for instance, if you're closing your limited companies, if you've got existing pension plans, because it is important we take a full holistic view of your finances, and any salary sacrifice complements any existing plans that you've already got. What to do next? As Chris has mentioned, there are some links in the comments box. If you do want to talk about salary sacrifice in more detail, I strongly recommend you actually get in touch with us. We can have an initial chat. Basically, with that, we can go through the advantage and potential disadvantages that are pertinent to you personally, because every single person is going to have different needs, and it is important that any plans are bespoke to you. Again, any questions, any queries, please get in touch, and we'll do our best to help. Thanks, Chris.
Just in summary, hopefully the video that we've done today is going to allow you to get a better understanding of the differences between agency pay-as-you-earn and working through an umbrella company. Again, it was about kind of building an understanding in terms of how they affect you either way, and then introducing how we can help you and what we offer. Basically, we think that the offer that we have is a very good one, as I keep saying, but it's about finding something in there that does resonate with you, whether that is the fact that you want to use the reward scheme, or you want to use pension salary sacrifice, or you just want to get paid on a monthly basis. Basically, if any of those resonates with you, then it's something that we can help you with. Obviously, you can use your limited company up until the end of this month, so it's currently the 3rd of March, but after that you'll need to be considering changes. So ultimately, the sooner you do that, the better, and if you are considering any of the options such as pension salary sacrifice, just be mindful that in some circumstances can't be done online, unfortunately, and they'll need, some of the paperwork has to be sent through the post, so that could delay things. So if you're thinking about that, then let me know. There is, as I've said, in the comments box, you're going to have an information pack, okay, links to the presentation. There's going to be salary calculators in there as well that will allow you to generate the pay slips that we talked about, and ultimately a link to our website and the FAQs, etc. So thank you very much for listening and for watching us today. And again, contact details are there for ourselves, a number and an email. Details for the Morson exclusive microsite are there as well as the contact for if you want to speak to Ian or one of his team, basically. So again, thanks very much for listening, and we hope to hear from you soon. Thank you.